Looking good. We are live.
That's nice. That's nice.
Hello, Richard. Very, very glad to have you here today for the 47th edition of the LinkedIn Show. I've done a bit of a summer break, a bit of thinking, and
Yeah.
it's extremely glad that we can. I'm extremely glad that we can do this live today, because couple of days ago I saw the results of your recent algorithm content strategy research. And all I can say, but we'll go into detail about this later on, since the first time I've picked up your research, it was so helpful for me personally. I just did a couple of things that your research suggested. And I'm not a believer kind of guy. I like to try out things myself, so then I can see if they work or not. And this was a very clear picture. So I was very happy when you published the new results. And this is,
Yeah.
my opinion, is something everyone who invests time and money, which is basically the same in LinkedIn, should know these things. But before we talk about the algorithm and the current state of LinkedIn, just introduce yourself, please. Everyone can see your curriculum on LinkedIn, but I think you've been in online marketing for quite a while. And in 2009, that is 11 years ago, you founded Just Connecting, your training company, right? What
Yeah.
happened before that time?
Yes. Thank you for your introduction. Thank you for having me, Richie, which is absolutely my pleasure. Yeah. Basically, I studied commercial management. Started to work in sales jobs ever since '99. I did that for 10 years. Last 3 years, I worked as a sales and marketing manager for an educational company. And then in 2009, I started my own company, Just Connecting. And first year, I aimed primarily at interim managers, entrepreneurs, and I was trying to train them, to coach them in, if you are in a client meeting, in an intake, how can you persuade the client to buy your stuff or to buy your services or to hire you? So we were talking about, cold calling, email acquisition, and this was just the time that LinkedIn became more and more popular. And then 1 year later, I decided to switch my business model from cold calling and email acquisition to LinkedIn. So we started in 2010. At that time, I had a companion, a partner. And we grew very, very, very fast. We grew till 10 people in 2012. We had some very big corporate clients in Holland where we did LinkedIn training for sales. And we did also like Facebook training, Twitter training, email training, blogs, everything. And then it was somewhere around the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, when I thought, okay, I just want to focus 100% on LinkedIn, because personally, that's really my cup of tea. It's really my platform. I feel very comfortable. I like it. I know a lot about it. And I didn't have the same feeling with Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. So I decided to make from Just Connecting a LinkedIn-based consultancy and trainings company. And when I moved from Holland to Spain, 2018, I released the last employees. We had made some perfect agreements. So as from 2018, I'm all by myself. And if I have big assignments like we did with Legrand, I have international assignments, I just work together with other experts in the field from all other countries. So yeah, I'm feeling quite happy. It has brought me a lot because since I specialized 100% on LinkedIn, I get very, very, very nice clients, very nice assignments from all over the world because, people tend to go for a specialist instead of a generalist. So
I sometimes think we're in a pretty fortunate position here because we can spend a lot of time on
yeah,
LinkedIn, know how to optimize our own postings.
yeah,
But the timeline is very interesting because you said you started your first LinkedIn trainings, I think, in 2010, and then a couple of years later, you focused on LinkedIn. I think I got my first training assignment in 2016, but that was only one. That was very rare. In the German-speaking area, it exploded much later. But
yeah,
the Netherlands are one of the most digital countries in Europe, right? So
yeah, yeah.
LinkedIn became popular there a couple of years before it did in
Yeah,
Austria, Germany.
in Holland and the Netherlands, we saw a big increase in 2011, 12 until 13, and it was actually the moment when also companies start to become interested in LinkedIn. So this was the moment when LinkedIn groups exploded, when a lot of company pages were created, and also more or less when LinkedIn decided to start with the paid solutions, so the paid marketing solutions. So it's quite nice because our trainings 2009, 2010, 2011 were centered around the question, what is LinkedIn? And then we moved from 2011, 12, 13 to what can we do with LinkedIn? So what can I do? How can I make advantage of it for my sales, my marketing, my communications? And then from 2014 till 2016, 17, the question was, okay, we have a sales strategy, we have a communication strategy, and how does LinkedIn contribute to these strategies? And I think from 2018, at least my questions are more, okay, what can we do with the paid services? What can we do with Sales Navigator? What can we do with the Campaign Manager? So the questions are becoming more professional based on people using LinkedIn quite differently than 10 years ago.
Yeah, I realized that it's a pretty wide range here among my clients. For some of them, it's how can we use it? But let me ask you one question. I mean, for both of us, the answer is pretty clear, but I would really like to hear this in your words. Why not just hire an agency and let them do all things LinkedIn? Why even train your employees in using LinkedIn?
Well, it's a good question. I think, to be fair, the only person who can sell your stuff, who can convince your clients, is the one who owns the service and the products. I could ask you to sell my training because you know about LinkedIn, but you don't know how I breathe, how I use it, what is my vision, what is my feeling about it. So I think, sales, marketing, one-on-one communication, it has to do with trust, it has to do with authenticity, and the only one who can provide it is yourself. So yes, you can ask an agency to create this really great piece of content, but you yourself need to share this content with your connections, and you yourself need to be active on LinkedIn. I personally dislike, sometimes I go to a company and then they say, yeah, we have had this agency and they have taken over our profiles and have sent emails. And I think, why would you do that? Why would you give somebody else access to your profile? Just pretending that they are you, sending stuff, while you are the only person who knows all the answer, who knows your stuff, your services. So yes, it will take time, it will take energy, but the conversion will be much more better if you do it yourself. It's just an investment.
A thought that came to my mind recently, a couple of years ago, a lot of online conferences had keynotes where the speaker said that bots, those automated chatbots will be the thing of the future, and you have to invest in that. It's exactly the opposite, actually.
It is.
What you just said is 100%, 100% my experience. And we're not talking about selling toothpaste here. It's about B2B market, so it's specialized products and
of course. It's interesting, Richie, about the bots, because as you probably know, you have engagement pods on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. You have all kind of tooling that make automated templates, that send automated connection requests. And I think that this could literally kill LinkedIn at
Absolutely.
the end. Literally.
Absolutely.
So I've also expressed my concerns to my contacts within LinkedIn, that I think they should act more secure on any breach of rules, because I have spoken to a lot of my permanent clients. I have clients I do training every year, mm-hmm. and these are like CEOs, CCOs, CFOs, and these guys are saying, Richard, I will give it another year, but if it doesn't change, I might just close my account, because every day I receive 3 to 4, 5 emails of people I do not know that start selling this stuff in their first message. They don't ask any questions. They don't show any interest. The only thing they want is selling their stuff. And this is a risk, because if we are not going to respond anymore to any connection request, to any messages, then the whole foundation of trusts, it falls apart. And then it becomes like a massive spam machine. And the COVID pandemic or the crisis is not helping at all, because now everybody hops on LinkedIn and just uses LinkedIn as a cold acquisition tool, which is going to, it's going to have a boomerang effect, because it will not bring you any conversion. in-mail acceptance rate has dropped from 30% to 4% in the last 9 months.
Wow.
Of course, because we're not going to respond.
That is, yeah, sure. Oh, it's basically wasted money. I was quite shocked when I heard a couple of months ago for the first time, and I also reported it to LinkedIn that they told me they already know that in Austria and in Germany, there are agencies who offer exactly this kind of automation as a service. So you hand over your login data, give them some criteria, they will research contacts, they will send these emails. And I am not C-level because C-level executives are mostly targeted, but sometimes I receive these messages, and every fourth one is about, I'm a coach who is telling other coaches how to properly use social media, and I looked at your profile, and I'm like, whoa, you obviously did not look at my profile. Yeah, this LinkedIn has to act very strictly and enforce the policies, but it's always a rat race, right? It is engagement bots.
It's true. I receive every week 2 or 3 connection requests from LinkedIn experts in lead generation that are trying to sell their lead generation services to me, and I go like, have you even looked on my profile? Have you seen what I've been doing for the past 10 years? Because you are trying to selling as a bakery, you're trying to sell your bread to another bakery. Why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. But
absolutely. Okay. But back to some more some better looking developments, just to frame that kind of. There are basically, in my opinion, and I think I know you structure this very similarly. There are these 3 elements on LinkedIn: personal branding, or employer branding, or company brand. So the branding aspect, which has a lot to do with trust. Then the whole network issue: how do I build my network? Which request do I send out? Which request do I accept? And then there's content strategy or publishing stuff on LinkedIn, and that's very often, in my experience, especially in the marketing departments, that's what takes most time. That's where most efforts go into, especially when companies use multimedia, produce videos for LinkedIn and stuff like that. And this is what your research is about. So why did you start it? When did you do it for the first time? Why did you do it? And how that? It's basically about analyzing a huge number of posts and then trying to find out correlations, right?
Yeah, it is. The first time it came into my mind, it must be at the end of 2018, so 2 years ago. And it was that I have written this, at least in my opinion, very good blog post about, I can't recall the subject, but it was something to do with LinkedIn and how to use LinkedIn. And I worked on it for almost a complete day, very detailed, and I posted it as an article. And I received eventually in 1 week 200 views.
Wow, yeah.
So I was really disappointed with the result. And then I saw a video of a coach walking to a street in Amsterdam, and while he was driving, at the background you saw somebody falling from his bike. It was 20 seconds, and I saw that this video had about 100,000 views. And this was
wow.
Okay. So somebody is posting, like, in my opinion, shitty content. It's laughable, but it's shitty content. And I'm working on this profound article, and I'm getting 200 views. So, and at that point, okay, what's behind the algorithm? Why is this article not shown? Why does it favor? Okay, so that was the first thing that came into my mind. And then I had an assignment at the beginning of 2019 with an international client. They have in 4 different countries, 4 different marketing departments. And we had a marketing training, and they asked me what type of content performs well on LinkedIn and why. Do you have any data?
I see.
And then I thought, okay, this is now just a question from this client, but this must be a question for a lot of users.
Yes.
Why would this work and why would this not work? And if I have a message, how do I wrap this message? Do I wrap it in a video, in a blog, in a vlog, in an article, in a document? Because if you have good content, that's one challenge, to create good content. But the second challenge is how to share it on LinkedIn in the best possible way so it gets the most attention. Okay, that's the second challenge. So then I got into contact with somebody from the university in Holland. It is a University of Statistics, Marketing Research. And actually, he reached out to me if I could use an intern, which I couldn't. But I say, but maybe I have a project because I have some questions with regards to, and I need a team that can identify and do the research. So we had some chats, and then they started with a project, which resulted eventually in the algorithm research 2019, which I published somewhere between July, August last year.
Yeah.
And it was a post
Yeah,
that reached 800,000 views, so almost 1 million views. I've had 12,000 downloads, so it was a massive success. And I'm still very surprised by the success, because obviously, it's good content, but I hadn't thought about 800,000 views and 12,000 downloads.
I think there was a lot of recommendation going on and word of mouth and everything, but because there was so much value for like I said before, every professional using LinkedIn.
But even 6 months after, even at the beginning of this year, February and March, I still now and then got a notification that somebody commented on the research on the post from like July. So the post is still going around. Okay. And as I stated, I didn't state it that last year, I stated it in this year's research. It's not scientific, because I know if we are examining posts, for example, if this post is getting 10 likes and this post is getting 10 likes, then we can look what happens. But the content of this post is different. So there are more elements that influence. Yeah. Okay. In my opinion, it's not possible to have a roughly scientific research.
No, but LinkedIn could do this when they have all the data and when they analyze it. It reminds me of social sciences, because I also teach at the university, and when you have social sciences, there are always a lot of correlations. But
exactly.
The amount of data is very helpful, and you're not trying to publish a scientific paper here, but to produce helpful outcome.
Exactly. And then, I had a lot of people last year, they were very enthusiastic. I had also fewer people, but still a lot of people who were critical about the method and anything. But what for me counted the most, that since I started spreading the research also to my clients, and for example, I had Webfleet Solutions. At that moment, they were still called TomTom. And I had Canon, and I had this very big companies who started implementing the learnings from the research, and who came back to me in 2 months and said, we have increased our views 5 times more than before. We have more conversion since we use documents instead of external links. We have asked our employees not to share our stuff, but to post it on their own profile so we can. So if people say, how do you know? I just know because people who obey to the rules and follow the algorithm research, they perform better, so it works.
Exactly the same experience personally and with a lot of my clients, because I give them the same recommendations.
Yeah.
So Richard, before we go into this year's results, we have a question from Sandra, and this is also a question which is addressed in your presentation. Sandra is asking, do the super pros, thank you Sandra, thank you for using the plural here, use external tools to post? I don't. I suppose you don't either.
No. I have been using Buffer app, but there are some disadvantages. You cannot tag people in Buffer app, and I use it still very rarely to repost evergreen content. So, for example, if I've written a blog 3 months ago, which is now still very accurate, then I might put it in Buffer, and especially if I'm on a holiday for a week. I just fill my Buffer, so there will be some repost of all content. Yeah. But during normal days, I always publish directly on LinkedIn. And what we have found, and I even got a message from Hootsuite about it, we have found that if you update LinkedIn through Hootsuite or Buffer app or what kind of application, that there is a slight decrease in views. And it could be because LinkedIn does not want us to use external tools to publish on LinkedIn. For me, it would be one of the best things they could do is to have a publishing tool in LinkedIn on the company page. Just make it possible for companies to publish the news whenever they want, because then people do not need to go to external tools. So personally, I don't use them, no.
Yeah, and I think there's another issue involved. This is what I always tell my clients. Even if you would use these tools, I mean, it's kind of tempting because you can do it when you have time. But the problem is when you post a successful posting and it receives a lot of interaction, comments, questions, you should be able to react in a timely manner. So like programming this and then saying I won't have time during this day, it's probably not the best idea anyway. So it's probably better to reschedule.
True. And this reminds me of another thing which happened with a client of mine. A client of mine, he used Buffer and he posted on Monday and Friday. So he would fill the buffer for the upcoming 2 weeks. So he had 4 posts. And then on Wednesday, he posted manually.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a very successful post. So he got a lot of engagement, a lot of views. But then on Friday, Buffer app posted the new post. And this stopped the engagement on the previous post.
Yeah.
Because if you post, this is also in the research, if you make a new post, then LinkedIn is not going to show both posts at the same time. So in order to make room for your new post, they just stop your first post from being shown. So you can literally kill your first post by posting on the right time or on the wrong time.
That brings me to another question, which very often turns up. There are some very interesting answers in your research, but how do you proceed with that personally? Posting frequency. I mean, of course, there are differences. When you're a media house, probably you got more things to put on your company page than. But what about general posting frequencies?
It differs. On a company page, there is no suggested frequency. This means if a company page will post 3 times a day, this will not have any negative impact on their posts, okay? So they can post as much as they want. If a company post publish less than twice a month, this will have a serious negative impact. So as a company, you need to be active at least twice a month, which is not very often. On a personal page, if you post multiple times a day, and you would normally reach, let's make it easy. If you would normally reach on average 2,000 views, and today you're going to make 4 posts, then LinkedIn will actually spread these 2,000 views and give every post 400, 500, 300 views, okay? Because they will not show to your network 2 posts of the same people in the timeline. So I think with regards to the frequency, you need to be in control of the performance. Just follow the performance of your post. If you have made the post and this post is performing very well, you get a lot of engagement, you get a lot of views, don't publish anything new until you see the declining of the performance. Then you can add a new post. After I published the research 2 weeks ago, I didn't post anything for the first 5 days. I just waited because the post was still getting traction. And if I would make a new post, then it would seriously negatively impact the algorithm research. So if you have created a post in the morning and your post is not performing well, there's no problem. Just make a new post in the afternoon. But if one of your posts is performing well, be aware that don't be too quick with another post, because LinkedIn will divide and spread the amount of views you're getting.
So it is definitely about quality and not about quantity, which makes sense, total sense from LinkedIn perspective, because there is always so much more content they could display to you, but the algorithm has to pick, right?
Yes.
So,
yes. Of course.
Yeah, that is pretty clear. Compared to last year, I think this year's research, which you posted, I think two weeks or so.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
2 weeks ago. The sample was even bigger. You analyzed more postings, and of course, since you did it for the second time, there were also some comparison possibilities. But I should mention at this. Sorry for not mentioning that. If you have any questions, feel free to use the comment form. I'll regularly take a look. And also, this research we're talking about here, so check it on Richard's profile. It's available. It's a PDF, a presentation, multiple slides, super valuable. So what were the main insights of this year's research?
I think what struck the most people, also me, is about hashtags. For 2 years, LinkedIn, also the vice president of sales LinkedIn, he was in a congress somewhere, I think in San Francisco, and he mentioned on stage, just use 3 hashtags, 3 magical number. And this year we found that somewhere between 3 and 9 hashtags, we don't see any difference. If you don't use hashtags in your posts, LinkedIn will limit the amount of views because they want us to use hashtags. And if you use more than 10 hashtags, we can see decline, because I think LinkedIn does not want to become the next Instagram with 20, 30 hashtags. So somewhere between 3 and 9. So this makes more room for hashtags. Personally, I think hashtags could be the new communities on LinkedIn, because you can see that LinkedIn groups are almost not used anymore.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, Richie, but I have my own hashtag, LinkedIn by Richard van der Blom. I have currently about 900 followers. And if you follow that hashtag, whenever I share tips or insights, I always use my own hashtag. So if you follow the hashtag, then you subscribe to a feed. So actually, I'm building my community around the hashtag. And this is also the advice I give to both companies and entrepreneurs. Create your own hashtag, start sharing insights, become a thought leader, and use the hashtag so people start following the hashtag, and then you build your own community. Second is, of course, dwell time, because last year we didn't have dwell time. This year in February, LinkedIn launches dwell time, which now looks quite differently to a post. The amount of time people spend on your post and their screen is important. If people click on the see more link in your post is important. So we can see some changes, especially rich content, which keeps people on the platform to absorb the content, like videos. I click the video keeps running, I stay on LinkedIn. Documents, I go through the document, I stay on LinkedIn. They are performing much better than last year. And interesting enough, also external links are performing better than last year. Yeah.
So you mean post even with the link preview, or links that are only inserted as text links?
No, both. Yes, both. Yeah. And I had a chat with Andy Food about this, also with Alexander Lowe, and I think the reason behind it is it's very silly. If I see your post, for example, on LinkedIn, and you have an external link to your website, if I click on the external link, LinkedIn will open a new tab and I will go to your website. But on LinkedIn, your post will stay on my screen. So I'm going to another tab to read your website, but on my LinkedIn tab, your post will stay on the screen. So with regard to dwell time, as I am reading your text on the internet, on your website for 2 minutes, it might be that dwell time is still taking 2 minutes of your post, and that's why your post is being better rewarded.
That sounds like a possible bug to me, but very interesting. Yeah, not the active tab. Oh, very super interesting. And sometimes these bugs stay alive for quite a while.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Let me ask you one more question. I find it super interesting what you said about the hashtags. Because about a year ago, I introduced this Linked Friday hashtag. It's not my personal one, which gained a lot of traction in the German area. And I've recently also started using my own hashtag, since the subscribing to hashtags is becoming more and more popular. But sometimes I see clients who just use 5 fantasy brand hashtags on their posting. It's also important to mix it with existing hashtags, like semantic hashtags that tell LinkedIn algorithm about the topics and fields you're active in.
For example, if you are in sales or marketing, if you would use hashtag marketing, this would also stimulate the reach of your post. So in the research, we have said, try to mix both original hashtags or your own hashtags with most commonly used hashtags. And I had a client which was in sustainable building, and they start using on the company page the hashtag sustainability. Normally, they use the Dutch term, okay? And the Dutch term had only, I think, about 2,000 followers. Sustainability, I can't recall, but I think 11 million or something. And since they have been using the hashtag sustainability, they see an increase in views on their company page. So it's because LinkedIn sometimes, and this will be more in the future, shows your post to people and tell them, it's because you follow the hashtag sustainability, we will give you this post. And we will see this more in the near future. LinkedIn is starting more and more to trying to create a timeline based on the topics we would really like to see.
Personally, I find it very unfortunate that hashtags are not multi-language, like you said, because in some cases you don't know which one to. There might be more German users, for example, if you post in German, who follow the German hashtag. On the other hand, the other one, I hope that LinkedIn at some point makes them multi-language, like profiles or stuff like that. But that could be a lot of work. It's not a project.
No, I don't know if they're going to, but it makes sense. The other thing I find a bit of a shame is that, for example, if I click on the hashtag sustainability, 11 million followers, LinkedIn has the data to provide us with filters based on geography. So if I could click on the hashtag sustainability and then filter on Austria and see what kind of people in Austria are following the hashtag sustainability, then as a company or as a specialist, I know where to go, because then I know how I can
feature request.
Yes,
that would be.
And they have the data. I personally, I think they will come up with the data, but put it behind a paywall. For example, in the marketing campaign, if you are a company active in sustainability, imagine what would be the benefit if you could select a campaign, and as a target audience, you say, I want to have the followers of the hashtag sustainability in the DACH region.
Yeah,
that would be a super campaign.
Super powerful. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I hope they are working on things like that.
Yeah. So hashtags more interesting currently than groups, as you said. I mean, I personally, I run a group, and I was lucky. I put popular. There are not many groups on online marketing, so I use the proper terms. And now I'm getting, since LinkedIn has become so popular, about 100 new members every week. But basically, the only function which makes sense is the notify group members, which you can use once a week. But it's a very indirect way compared to other options. There was one more thing that really struck me. You had it in your report last year, and it's in there this year as well. The first 2 hours, basically, or the first time after publishing a post, they are or let's say it's not equal. The first 2 hours are more important or carry more relevancy for the overall reach a post is going to get during its life cycle, right?
Yeah. It's the period, the amount of time you are being given by LinkedIn has increased, because last year it was more or less an hour and 50 minutes. Now we've seen that the first 2 hours are becoming more and more important. If you post on LinkedIn, whether it's from a company page or an individual page, if you post on LinkedIn, they will show this to a test panel. It's a percentage of your network.
Because they want to find out if your post resonates. They want to find that out as quickly as possible, right?
So, and they do this in the first 2 hours. And if your test panel is not responding, so they are seeing it, but they do not like, they do not engage, they do not comment, then LinkedIn thinks your post is less relevant, and it will diminish, it will reduce the amount of views you are getting. So LinkedIn will stop showing your post in the timeline. On the contrary, if you get a lot of engagement, if you get a lot of comments in the first 2 hours, then LinkedIn thinks, hey, this post is engaging. So we open up the algorithm to make more people aware of this post. And there is a difference. I noticed it myself, because I experienced with it. Last year, if you can recall, I put out the algorithm research. I made a post. I had some conclusion in the text, and then I say, if you want to have the algorithm,
comment okay or something.
Give a comment and say, I want the report.
Yeah.
Okay. I reached 800,000 views. Okay. So this year, I decided not to do that, because I made a mistake, because last year I got about 2,000 comments. So I needed to send 2,000 messages. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't expect that much. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
And this year I thought, there's no way I'm going to send 2,000 messages. So here you have it. I post it like a document. And so you can see that I get a little less comments, because people do not need to say I want it. And now my post stopped around 70,000 views, which is not a lot compared to the engagement the post got. It's not
absolutely
a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I can see if you put anything out now, like a poll or a question about COVID measurements, you can have a post with about 100,000 views, because people feel very strongly engaged with the subject. So you can even see that the difference between getting a lot of comments and increasing the views, or getting less comments, and you can see that the post is getting less views, like the research this year.
So the comments do have much more impact than likes.
They do.
They do. Different likes.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Last question about the research. What about video? Is it still a good idea to use moving pictures, or?
Of course, it has always been a good idea. Maybe I didn't state it very well in last year's research, because I said video is decreasing. I can remember the slide. Video is decreasing, but video has been the most powerful package of content since the last 3 years. Okay, except sometimes people look at the views of videos and say, I get lesser views on a video than on a post. But the definition of a video view is different than from a post, because you will only get a view on your video if people have opened the video and watched at least 6 seconds. While if you make a regular post, if somebody scrolls through your posts, yeah.
It's a view.
And if you make
it's
a regular
they might
post,
not have even seen it. They might use their thumb on their smartphone, right?
Exactly.
Or they might use their mouse wheel, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but video always have been, for the past 3 years, the best way to wrap it. We have since some criteria, like don't exceed 1 minute, preferably make a square video because it takes more screen space, and subtitles, because 50% of the people are in an environment normally where they don't have any sound enabled. Now, with everybody working at home, I think a lot of people have their sound on, but it might be also, if you do a German video, it might be wise to put English subtitles so both groups can understand the video.
Good idea. I will do that, because I normally do German ones, and I find it quite interesting that the really short videos up to 1 minute perform best. So interestingly, also live format is performing really bad compared to short videos. Also, when I post these two types, but it has the different strength. It's more of a community-oriented format. You can go into depth. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
We have an interesting question here by Martin. Hello, Martin. Are there, and this is the same question I wanted to ask you, general content strategy tips. Are there any new insights outside your last report, which is quite recent? So, I mean, there is one thing, of course, it is contained in the report, but they rolled it out last week in Germany and Austria. Stories, LinkedIn stories. You have had it for quite some time in the Netherlands, right? I think it was the first country in Europe.
Yeah. I haven't done anything. I have posted 2 stories right in the beginning, because I also have good contacts with the PR agency of LinkedIn Netherlands. And whenever they have a new feature, they will mail me and say, hey, this feature is coming up. Maybe you can try it. So I tried it. It's not my cup of tea. So I'm not stating that it's not suitable for LinkedIn, or it's not, you cannot use it successfully, but it's just not my cup of tea. And we have not done any research to stories because it's mobile. So then we need a different methodology. However, I'm planning on doing a very small research to the differences how people consume content mobile with regards to laptop, desktop, because I think there is a big difference in between how people react and respond to content on mobile and on laptop, desktop. So I'm still working on how to research that, but that could be something we will have in January or something like that.
I was quite surprised, because that's how I understood it, that the stories are not displayed on the desktop. I thought, like on Facebook, that you can post them on the mobile, but they would also be displayed on top of the newsfeed on the desktop.
They are now. Since last week, they are.
Oh, not here. So they will probably only roll it out now, because I have it on my mobile, but I don't see it on. Okay, that kind of makes sense.
You can now get on your laptop and desktop, you get notifications, and it says something like Richie has shared a story. And if I click on it, I get a small pop-up, and then I get your story, even on laptop, desktop.
Okay. I haven't seen this. So
I saw it this week for the first time.
And also the interactions are private, so you get them. That is also, I'm not sure if
that's a shame.
Really good feature for a B2B network.
That was my experience as well, because I was one of the first to have stories. So I made a story about me living in Valencia between the oranges, and then I got all kind of messages in my inbox. I thought, what the hell is happening? And these were all like comments on my story. So personally, I didn't like the way how they used it, but I think for some kind of companies, stories could be, for example, for employer branding, you can use stories in many ways.
Yeah. But again, they are not available for company pages. They will not be available for company pages. So it's a feature you have to use via your employer.
No, they are available. They are available.
They are available via company pages.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so more challenges for the marketing department.
Yes.
I gotta be authentic and post as my brand. Not
Yes,
too
yes.
easy. Not too easy.
No, it isn't too easy. No, the only thing that will not be available for company pages is blogging. So writing an article will not become available for companies. It's only for individuals. And one of the things I like the most, one of the new developments, if I look to 2020, I liked the new profile layout. I liked the featured section we have on our profile now, because now you can feature important content directly on your profile. And I liked the newsletter function. I have it. I don't know if you have it.
No, not yet. Not yet. They also they announced that they are going to roll. But that's a reason to post articles again, right?
It is a massive game changer, because I have now about 3,500 subscriptions.
Wow.
I'm going with only 4 newsletters, and you start at 0. So it's not that your connections subscribe.
But
you start at 0.
They have to do an extra opt-in.
Yeah. And then I'm going to make a new newsletter on Monday. And if I publish it, LinkedIn will send it directly to the email of all the subscribers. So this is so powerful. This is what I really like.
Yeah, and it's opt-in based, so this might also be a pretty huge game changer, because it's a direct way, and it's flying under the algorithm, so to say. So you opt in and you get that stuff.
That's true.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else? What do you? I mean, it's currently during our wicked COVID situation, which is currently worsening in all of Europe. It's hard to tell how things will develop. But do you see any future trends here on LinkedIn?
I think next year will be a very challenging year for LinkedIn, because, as I told you, the power of LinkedIn is the power that people are responding to any messages. If people stop responding, if people stop engaging, then a marketing department feels like they're on a labyrinth. A salespeople feels like they're in a desert and they're calling for any contacts. So I think next year will be very challenging, whether we stay engaged, whether we stay, loyal to the platform. And COVID is not helping, as I stated before. A lot of people now jump on the cold calling through LinkedIn train. Because
there are so many LinkedIn experts who became LinkedIn experts in 2020.
For example, if you provide training how salespeople need to do their sales talk at the office of the client, then now you're out of job, because people cannot visit the client. So now they're thinking about, okay, then let's provide LinkedIn training or Zoom training, or because I have more than 30 Zoom specialists in my network. They were not Zoom specialists before 2020, but now they are Zoom specialists. So I think the changes of people working remote, not be able to visit their clients, not be able to visit any trade shows or big events.
Yeah, that's a huge difference, of course.
That is causing a problem. So I would like to call upon everyone, just use LinkedIn the way how you would yourself like to be treated. If you don't like spam, why would you spam other people? If you don't like emails that are not personalized, why would you yourself send unpersonalized emails? Because networking, it's about trust, it's about building the relationships. You do not build relationships through tools, you do not build relationships through spam. So stop doing it, and you have enough time now. You're at home, working from home, so you have enough time, you have enough energy, and just start investing in relationship. Start personalizing your messages, so people regain trust again and start communicating again.
It's so weird, because I have never seen at any business or network event anybody walk up to me or to anyone, hand them their business card, and then turn away without saying anything. If you don't know each other. Or
hand the business card and start pitching.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi Richie, if you need a LinkedIn training, please call me, and then go away.
I think a lot of people do not understand that the way that when LinkedIn works, it's a digital image of the normal business world, of the normal business communication, not something that you scale up by some dubious automated scripts that just annoy the hell out of anybody involved.
No, that's correct. So people, just that is very good. Act like you do in offline networking, in offline sales, and then I think we will be okay.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, we're going to do the same research next year. Most of the time, we will start in May, something like that, and then plan to have the research finished in July. And as you told, the advantage of this year's research is that we could look back to last year's and make a comparison. And LinkedIn is, evolving rapidly. A lot of new features, a lot of product and development. So I'll guess next year we will have a lot of new things to talk about, a lot of changes also in the algorithm.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And until then, I will closely stick to the recommendations in your current report of hashtags and everything. I can only advise everybody to do so. Follow Richard or send him a contact request with a personalized message. Super, super important. Yeah, see you all on LinkedIn. See you here on the LinkedIn show in 2 weeks. Richard, thank you very much for taking your time. Super interesting talk for me, and I think for everybody who is trying to make the most out of LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richie.
Bye.